From Careco TV, one of the longest running outdoor programs on television today, exploring the country and the coast in search of adventures. From the mountains of the Great Northwest to the shores of the Atlantic Ocean, this is Americana Outdoors, presented by Garmin. This week on Americana Outdoors, we can't quite keep our mouths shut, and we're spilling all the secrets we have about secret lures. To kick things off, we're keeping things extra stupid with the Secret Lures Stupid Tube. This tube puts secret lures on the map, and the first thing you need to ask yourself before you throw this bait is what size of tube do you want to throw? The Secret Lures Stupid Tube comes in 3 distinct sizes: the 3.7 Stupid Tube, the 4.2 Flippin' Stupid Tube, and the 4.5 Big Dummy. Along with 3 flavors of tubes to throw, Secret Lures also designed jig heads exclusively to fit these tubes. Let's cast it over to the Secret Lures man himself, Danny Blanford, to give us a breakdown of the best pairing decisions you can make with the Stupid Tubes and the STH series of hooks.
In regards to hook selection, the standard 3.7 Stupid Tube is designed for the STH line of hooks. The HD hook does fit it, but we don't recommend it. It doesn't fit well, and it's an awkward rig, so we try to steer people away from putting the HD hook in the 3.7. That hook in particular was made to fit the other 2 sizes. The HD is the perfect hook for the 4.2 Flippin' Stupid Tube. That's the middle size one. If you want to go even larger, that's where the 4.5 Big Dummy comes in. What we found through customer feedback on the Big Dummy was guys wanted to take this out and expand their tube game to deeper water, more offshore type stuff. And that's where the Stupid Tube Ledge Head was born. It is the only jig head in the series that's a 5/0, also has what I call a cross-eyed line tie. This is set up perfect for dragging. Just like you would drag a football jig, now you can rig a big weight in a tube and drag a tube. Obviously a person can tinker with these and come up with unique applications in different scenarios, but out of the gate, check out our chart. Shows you everything you need to know about which hooks are suitable for which tubes.
Once you've decided which tube size and jig head combo you want to throw, you still need to know how to rig them to create a flawless, weedless fishing system to trigger those predatory fish responses. Let's see Danny's secret to rigging success that will guarantee strikes and catches.
First thing I can suggest to people is before you ever poke a hole in your tube, take a look at where your jig head hook needs to be coming out of your tube. If you do it correctly, that hook should lay flat on the back of the tube. Then I go and I make sure I'm centered in the middle of the tube. Once I've got that center, I'll grab a hold of it like this. I'm coming down the tube and I'm kind of watching that hook point. Where is it at? Where is it at? And I get right to the end of my thumb and I can feel it and I pop it out. Before I go any farther, I look and make sure it looks like I'm coming down the center line of the tube. In this case, I am. It's laying right down the middle and I'm the right distance back from the tube. And then I just start working this 1/4 ounce in. With the smaller sizes, you can just pull it in there and make the turn. With the 1/4 ounce, you've got to work the plastic. Now I'm getting to the difficult spot. I'm getting ready to make this turn. To make that turn, I'm pulling and working from the top on this 1/4 ounce head. And right there, it just happened. It popped right over the eyelet and I'm snugging it into the tip and I have not torn out the bottom. The next thing I do is I turn it around and I personally fold the tube up along the hook shank because then I can see that that hook is still staying centered. Follow it all the way up and all I'm doing is pushing the butt of that tube up towards it. So now I'm gonna pop that through and start working it around. If you've got it laying flat, you've got what we intended for you to do. And the last thing I do is I double check and I make sure I've got my plastic centered up on the tip and then I pop the eyelet out. That tube is ready to go.
Another tactic to keep in mind when you head out to the water is what color of bait to throw. Everyone knows the old faithful green pumpkin Stupid Tube will catch them, but what other color should you have in your boat when you want to present a tube that best mimics bait fish all year round? Danny Blanford answered that question for us on a recent fishing trip with Secret Lures pro angler Jeffrey Johnson.
Jeffrey was able to take that green pumpkin Stupid Tube and work his way up through the BFL ranks, ultimately winning a regional with a green pumpkin stupid tube. He's had such great success with it that he's pretty sure we don't need to do anything else. Fish on?
Fish on.
Fish on, all right.
Oh, stupid tube.
Put the worm down and
I did.
made a couple casts.
I went back to Old Faithful. Check it out right there. Spotted bass, beautiful.
While the green pumpkin may have won first bite of the day, it was the shad-colored stupid tube that shined on this cold winter day in Indiana.
You know, I can't say enough about that shad color. It showed up on Jeffrey and I's trip, and honestly, I got to give Jeff some credit. He turned us onto it real early on in the process. The first time that Jeff and Terry hooked up to fish, Jeff picked up a shad BG flipping tube, and he caught him, and it kind of opened my eyes up to it. And over the past few years, it's just something that I pick up and use fairly confidently pretty much year round. And man, it made a big difference on a tough winter day for me.
We'll return to the water in just a moment, but in the meantime, take this opportunity to subscribe to our Americana Outdoors YouTube channel. Inspired by the success of the unique stupid rigging concept for tube baits, the Secret Lures Stupid Craw is a further expansion of a custom design that flat out catches. Poured with a proprietary saltwater floating plastic, the Stupid Craw features a thinner plastic composition than conventional tubes, but is still incredibly tough and ideal for the stupid style of rigging.
The Stupid Craw is 3.7 inches of crawdad goodness that you're going to want in your tackle box. We've thought of a lot of the things that we've learned and we've integrated them into this bait. With the Stupid Craw, you've actually got rigging landmarks on the bottom, and what really makes a big difference, when you hit those two dots, your hook lays in a hook trough here in the back that protects it from snags, vegetation, anything that would normally get stuck is now protected on the Stupid Craw. We've got a set of pinchers, unlike anything you've seen, very thin outer cupped edges, gives it an amazing amount of flutter on the fall.
Speaking of those ultra-thin pinchers, here's a few ways you can prep the bait for different presentation styles.
Right out of the package, you'll see the Stupid Craw comes with the claws attached. They're connected at the front, and they're connected at the back. You can fish this bait this way. They've got a tight flapping action and not a lot of twirl to them. With a simple cut of them, which is how most people fish it, you end up with the tips loose. That elongates the bait and makes the craw's action very exaggerated. So they swim and it makes the bait look long. But there's so many other things you can do. You take that same set of claws and cut them the other way, and you've got the perfect set of pinchers on your craw. You can remove those altogether. Say the water's cold or you're fishing, you know the crawfish are small, get rid of the loops altogether. Now you've got just a small pointed set of claws that makes the bait much smaller and kind of mimics maybe a more natural crawfish size in crawfish pinchers. If you're into wild swimming craws and action, chop those tips off altogether, make a simple slit in, and then come back, and that should look familiar to you as a swimming claw, and that'll give you a more pronounced up and down action as you reel that bait in or as you hop that bait.
Now that we've seen 4 variations for prepping the Stupid Craw, let's throw it to the guys on the water and see this baby in action.
Good one. That right there is fun. 65-pound braid, big heavy rod, the Stupid Craw, and flipping back into gnarly stuff. Man, that was a fun bite right there. Flipped over the top of them cattails. Thank you, Mr. Fish. Oh yeah. The one thing I like the most about this Stupid Craw is the size of it. It's a little bulkier than some plastics, and there's some that are bulkier, but it's just it's a good thick body, which it's a hollow body. It's a tube style bait, hollow in the middle, where you put rattles or whatever you want to in it. Got these little legs that's got a lot of action to them, and it's just a good bait to slide through these cattails, getting thick cover. You know, you're not having to shake it to get it in there. It just goes right through there. And for me, the bulkiness, you know, I just feel like I catch better fish like that. Great bait, soft bait, easy to set a hook on and catch big ones just like that. Let's get another one.
We're hopping over to Choke Canyon Reservoir, where Wade Middleton has been landing fish after fish to the point they've turned his Stupid Craw into a stupid grasshopper. Let's see how easy it is to re-rig this bait.
Those 2 little rigging dots sure make things easy, and then that little channel right there to put the bait inside and poke the eye out like that. You're good to go.
Oh, we got one shaking his head that time. A little better one. A little deeper out on the point. I mean, you can watch me just sitting here. I mean, we're watching everybody else, and I'm just throwing out and shaking my stupid craw. And I'm not saying this is the only bait you can catch them on, but boy, it sure seems to be working. Come here, buddy.
We'll return to the water in just a moment, but in the meantime, take this opportunity to subscribe to our Americana Outdoors YouTube channel. When you start thinking about jig selection, Secret Lures has you covered. Their selection of jigs can be broken down into 4 categories: the MVP Flippin', the MVP Football, the MVP Finesse, and last but certainly not least, the MVP Swim Jig. For this segment of the show, we'll be breaking down everything you'll want to know about fishing with the MVP Swim Jig and the limitless customization options available to you.
I think probably the most successful product in our jig lineup for most customers is our MVP Swim Jig. Several different colors available, 3 different weights, each hook with a little bit different application. I think if you think through your specific fishing situations, you'll find that there's an MVP Swim Jig that is perfect for your body of water.
When I look at swim jigs, there's so many different options out there. For me personally, that means I've been fishing with the Secret Lures MVP Swim Jig, and there's a lot of things I really like about that particular swim jig. The northern version is basically a 1/4 ounce swim jig with a 5/0 medium gauge mustad hook. The southern version is a 3/8 ounce with a 4/0 heavy gauge hook. In addition to that, they've got a 1/2 ounce one that features a 5/0 saltwater hook, and it's specifically built for braided line. They also are very well balanced, have a gliding action that's been really perfected for each of the weights, and the skirt can be, customized to the application that you're going to be looking to use them, which really pays off for a lot of the people that are going to be, looking at different types of bluegill colors specifically, because there's so many different colors of panfish across the nation that you're going to want to match your trailer and specifically the skirt of your swim jig too. Chunky thing, isn't he, right there? He's got some shoulders on him. Let him go. That's the kind of bite you like to see right there. It's hard to capture all this, but I'm at the end of the grass right here. A little bit lighter weight one right here, 1/4 ounce. I mean, this water is only 2 to 3 feet deep that we're fishing. Out here on the edges, I probably could throw that half, but swimming through this, through the top, and I'm dropping it, letting it fall, twitching it, letting it drop, letting it fall. And on the fall, a lot of these bites are coming in those holes as I run it into that grass, and that one there just smoked it. I mean, he'd already swam probably 4 or 5 feet before I was able to pick up and catch up with him, and got lucky that it didn't rip out of his mouth that time, because a lot of times when those fish get their head turned down and they get to go in that direction, you're in a bind. That was a classic drop the rod, swim jig, bite. The swim jigs are such a great bait for covering water. I mean, you can basically reel and twitch and pump your rod and impart a lot of action on them and make a lot of casts in a very short period of time, which means that it's a bait for covering water, generating strikes really fast, and telling you if they're fish in the area. Golly, come out of there. Golly. That's why a swim jig is so effective. You can see that brush right there. I just reeled it through that 4 trees, there are little forks in the tree right there, and bam! I mean, he just come up and smashed it right away. That's a good aggressive bite, and there's been a lot of boats come through here a lot of times with spinner baits, and it's just a different look. Just provides a different look to everything you're doing. God, what a strike. God, the fish jumped all the way out of the water. That is swim jig fishing right there. Golly. Like I was talking about, I made 5 casts to that tree, made 1 to that one, and he just sharked out of the water for it. That is so cool. What a bite. What a bite. Big old chunky fish right there.
We'll return to the water in just a moment, but in the meantime, take this opportunity to subscribe to our Americana Outdoors YouTube channel.
In regards to the Shaky Head, there's really only a couple things to know about that. With our styles, there's really two. When I'm using a straight worm, I want to use the J-Bend Shaky Head. So that's the TSJ line of products. And then on some bigger baits, like if I were doing one of our crawls or someone else's crawls or a beaver style bait, then I would use the extra wide gap. With the lead shaker, it is only a J-style hook, and that's primarily because it works well for those big worms. But the guys have done a great job with that. We're having a blast with that, and people really should check that out.
We're hanging out with Jeff Reynolds as he explains why the Secret Lures lead shaker is a tool he keeps rigged up in his boat 12 months out of the year.
When throwing a Shaky Head, I've always been one that thinks of it as like a finesse type deal until I seen this lead shaker. And the first time I threw it, I was like, man, this is just a whole different world to me. Now I can feel something now. I can feel everything I'm dragging it through. And there's so many different things you can do with it. Different kind of worms you can put it on, you know, an old monster, a Berkeley power worm, big Cinco type bait, smaller finesse worms. And the ways you use it, power fish it. I mean, I power fish with it. I don't just throw it out there and let it set on the bottom like you're dragging a Texas rig worm. I mean, I'm dragging it through stuff, through stumps, through brush piles, through rock points, everything. I'm moving it a lot.
You know, one of the neatest things about this bait is the way it sets in the water. As you can see, that little concave spot in the head right there, that's what comes the name pivot divot head. But the way that bait sets is just like that. And in the water, that tail will be up there just wiggling around and, I mean, pretty much doing all the work. And when you drag it across the bottom, it's just bumping the bottom like that as it comes through. And them fish, I think a lot of them fish hear it hitting them rocks, kind of like crawdads will be clicking, you know. And then when they see it just floating up there, coming through there, and they will eat it. Fish catching machine.
Now this is how you rig it. It's got a screw lock up here. You just put it up there, screw it all the way to the head. When you get it up there, look and see kind of where the bottom of the hook is. That's roughly where you want to go in. We'll go in right there, and I'm gonna slide it all the way down till it's straight. And I want that hook right on the outside edge where it don't have as much plastic to go through when you set the hook. You know, if you just take it like that and just barely stick it in, you've got that whole worm that you've got to penetrate to get it into that fish's mouth. If I pinch it up, stick it all the way in there right out to the edge, I can feel that hook right there. That's going to give you a better hookup. The lead shaker comes in different sizes. This particular one is a 1/2 ounce. This is probably my favorite. You can get a 3/4 ounce. You can drop down these tail shakers and, you know, get 1/4 ounce, 1/8 ounce. And the reason you want the different size baits, there's different styles of fishing with it. You can either throw it out there and drag it real slow. You can throw it out there and reel it across the bottom. And when you're doing that, you want something heavier that's going to stay down when you're reeling it. You know, if you're throwing a 1/4 ounce head in 15 foot of water, you can't reel it because it's going to come off the bottom. You need a heavier head to keep it on the bottom. So you get a school of fish going, you catch a few of them, you're dragging it through there, which is what I do. They quit biting, you can throw that bait out there, like this 1/2 ounce I throw a lot. I had one spot that was actually in a tournament one time. We caught them pretty good, caught several fish, decent ones, and they just quit biting. I know there's still fish down there, I can see them on my live scope. Throw it out there and I start reeling it through there. Steady retrieve, reeling it, it's like 7 foot of water, 1/2 ounce head, and immediately, the first 2 casts I made reeling it, I caught a 4-pounder and a 5-pounder and we won that tournament. And I'm just telling you right now, this bait has won me more money in the past 5 years since I've been throwing it than all other baits combined. It changed the way I fish. I am more confident now fishing offshore. I mean, I still do my shallow deal. I'll throw this in 2 foot of water because they eat this right here. I mean, I don't know, there's just something about it. They eat it. And whether anybody else likes it or not, that is the favorite bait in my boat.
Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Golly. Boy, that's a good one there. Come here, baby. Easy. Oh, yeah. Look at that right there, boys. Look how fat that fish is. That is by far now my favorite bait. That's on the deck of my boat all the time. Whether it's a 1/2 ounce, 1/4 ounce, 1/8 ounce, 3/4 ounce, just depends on how deep the fish are.
one more splash.
To all the anglers who've been keeping the secret of secret lures under wraps all these years, we're so sorry that all your buddies are now going to know what you've been hiding. To everyone else who's just learning about the secret to success, take a moment to visit secretlures.com to add these winning baits and jigs to your tackle box. And remember, guys, if you're going to do something stupid, do it right. Hey, thank you for watching, and join us again next week on a new episode of Americana Outdoors. Americana Outdoors is a Careco TV production.